Beck program. Good news. Good news. Come here, Aaron. Come here. Good news. This is the last show Aaron's doing with me. No, that's actually the really sad news. The IEA is releasing emergency oil. That is the good news. You're having problems at the gas pump? Don't worry. The whole world is riding to your rescue. They're getting involved. They're going to put 60 million barrels of oil right there. Of course, you're responsible. The United States is 60 million barrels. That's for the whole world. We're responsible for half of that. But it's going to, relieve the pressure elsewhere. Look, here's the thing we all have to understand. Nobody is going to do a Marshall Plan for the United States. I'm sick and tired of the redistribution of wealth. No one's going to send us one Hershey candy bar. Not one. We need to rebuild ourselves. We will stand alone. But the good news is, you've never heard this phrase, oh, thank goodness the French are here. It's always, thank goodness the Americans are here. The Americans are already here. We just have to remember who we are. We warned you about the Mideast. We told you that it would bring on an oil crisis. Well, here it is. And yet, everybody then and everybody now telling you it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. We'll just take more oil out of our own strategic reserves. That doesn't sound like a good idea. Because isn't that strategic reserve, isn't that in case of war and we have a real... war will never happen. Anyway, Saudi Arabia is also increasing their foothold now in the nuclear energy department. You can't build a nuke plant. No, not here. No. Germany can't. The West can't. But the nut jobs in the Middle East, we're all for building nuclear power plants. Let them have, they've got a right, Are we out of our mind? Why is Saudi Arabia building nuclear energy? Because they announced today that they're starting to run a little low on oil. Don't worry about it. Nothing better than the news that Saudi Arabia might be running a little low on oil and starting a nuke program. Don't worry about it. No. We are the people that are going to solve the problems that others are creating. We are the responsible ones for our own solutions. Now, the next one I want to show you here is a clip I wish was CGI. I wish George Lucas was out there going, watch, I'm going to make Ben Bernanke say crazy stuff. No, it's not CGI. It's not made up. It's Ben Bernanke.
We don't have a precise read on why this slower pace of growth is persisting. One way to think about it is that maybe some of the headwinds that have been concerning us, some of these headwinds may be stronger or more persistent than we thought.
Yeah, whatever. Did I just hear him say maybe? We don't have any idea. Maybe. United States economy, pretty big engine, pretty important engine for the whole world, not just you. The whole world, right? It's like a Ferrari. Got to tune that baby up. You know what? It's maybe even more important than a Ferrari because that's just some fat cat. This is like some really crappy commuter airline that you're sitting on, but that engine is really important to everybody on board the plane, and you're strapped in the seat. You got your whole family. You're like, okay, kids are ready to go. And then you look out the window, and you see a mechanic with a screwdriver and a flashlight. And he's looking inside the engine, and you hear him say, I really don't know what's wrong with the engine, but I'm just going to fix it some more. Stop fixing the jet. Ben, if you don't know what's wrong with the economy and you're like, I don't really know. Maybe it's some headwinds or something. Yeah. Step away from the engine, Ben. Step away from the economy. Well, hello, America. Glad you're here. The wee little Aaron is going on vacation, and tomorrow we have a show. We got a studio audience. It's going to be great, but nope, she's on vacation. And then next week I have 4 more shows left. She's on vacation. Don't let the door hit you in the back end on the way out, Aaron. Spring is. I'm going to miss you, Aaron. Spring is over, but not the Arab Spring. It is going fresher and stronger than ever. It's very exciting. In fact, it's catching on in Pakistan. A Pakistani army officer, about the equivalent of a one-star general, that guy has just been detained because of his ties to Hizb ut-Tahrir. Hizb ut-Tahrir. Who doesn't love these cats? They're great. They're an extremist group that even the Muslim Brotherhood says, whoa, okay, these guys are... Hundreds of thousands of members in the Middle East of Hizb ut-Tahrir. Now, where have we heard that name before? You know, besides on this program, back when we were talking about it when they were setting the Middle East on fire. They just happen to want the destruction of the West and Israel, the United States, establish a caliphate. You know. They're the ones that we told you about. They have this annual Khalifa conference, which is my favorite of all of the Alifa conferences in the world. The Khalifa conference, which, I don't know, is Dutch or Hollandaise for caliphate, I think. I'm not really sure. They're coming up and they're calling for uprisings in the Muslim world. According to their site, quote, in the Muslim world, we work at all levels of society to bring the Muslims back to a living under Islamic way of life, under the shade of the Khalifa, caliphate. Oh, who doesn't want that? Beheadings for everybody. Last night, I showed you on this program a video that is being used to promote their upcoming global event. Look out, kids, here it comes. Looks good, doesn't it? Now I really want to see the movie. Oh, it's going to be great. A call to the entire world, 44 countries. And did you notice colonialism? It showed England, United States, and Israel. Hey, wait a minute. Colonialism? Isn't that what our president and all of his friends are always saying they're against? Nah, pay no attention to that. It's believed now that Hizb ut-Tahrir has even a deeper political and military connections than previously thought. I'm sure our CIA is all over this. Nothing to worry about here, kids. Move along. It's not like Pakistan has any nukes or anything, but don't worry about this group, because this group, it's not like they're having conferences in Great Britain and America and Australia. Oh, no, I'm sorry, they are. But don't worry about them. Nothing to see here. Don't worry. It's the Arab Spring. The anti-Israel swell is not happening solely in the Middle East. It is happening all around the world and happening here in America. I'm going to show you some video here of Congressman Lynn Woolsey. She was at an event where she was standing with the angelic code pink. In attendance, you remember when Benjamin Netanyahu was giving his speech in front of Congress and somebody was screaming and yelling and interrupting his speech over and over again? Yeah. Well, look who was at this speech with the Congresswoman. Here she is. Watch. Watch.
You can repeat after us.
That's her.
Not $1, not one dime. Occupation is a crime. Not $1, not one dime. Occupation is a crime. Thank you.
Look who turned out for cheerleading tryouts and then lost and can't let it go. By the way, stop with the chanting like you're in high school. If you want my support for anything, don't ever try to get me to chant. Doesn't work. Here she is. She is talking proudly about how they got to stop the occupation in Israel. Right after her, standing behind during that chanting, was a United States Congresswoman applauding her disruption tactics, and you know, then she also was there chanting about the Israeli occupation. But here's the Congresswoman.
I have a little story about what happened to Ray during Netanyahu's speech. They were very rough with her when she stood up in the gallery and spoke out, which they didn't need to do. But one of my colleagues said to me, "Oh, I bet she was in your seat, Woolsey." And I said, no. Well, I bet she's your constituent. I said, well, I don't know who it was. Well, guess what? Thanks, Ray. You made me proud.
Oh, isn't that? Then on June 15th, a coalition of supporters got together right here in the United States, and they wanted to talk a little bit about how evil Israel and the United States is. The imperialist. They had a little conference, and these aren't nobodies. There's a few faces you might recognize. First, Louis Farrakhan.
All of this fictitious dream of a few that rule the many, that they will continue their rule, their time is up. I'll say it again.
Say it again.
Loud and clear.
Say it.
Your time to rule is up, and your rule will end in war, and America's power will be broken in war.
Let me tell you something. Just between you and me, I think he means it. I think he means it. And I think he knows why he means it. He means it because he's connected with wait a minute. Radicals, Islamists, communists, and socialists. Yeah, that's a crazy chalkboard there. Now, at the same conference, here comes Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney. She's wandering pretty darn close to crossing the treason line lately. She went to Libya to talk about how great Libya is and how bad the evil America is. She's talking about bringing Libyan direct democracy, who doesn't want that, right here to the United States on Libyan TV. Watch.
On a previous visit to Libya,
وفي زيارتي السابقة
I was able to learn about the Green Book and the form of direct democracy. When I went back to the United States, I spoke with Senator Mike Gravel because he too
في 2008
is pushing a form of direct democracy for the United States.
My daughter, Cheyenne, has that princess dress-up costume. It is so cool. Anyway, she also called in by phone to participate in this conference with Louis Farrakhan. Here she is.
I would just like to say that the international...
Anyway, it was a high-tech conference. It really was. Then, sitting behind that cat is another guy. You see the bald head? His name is Brian Becker. Here he is being introduced. He's from International Answer. Watch.
I'd like to recognize Brian Becker from Answer Coalition.
Yes.
Brian has organized a tour for Cynthia to speak in about 5 cities across America. So this is Brian Becker.
There it is. There it is. Okay, now, in case you don't remember him, here's one of Brian Becker's greatest hits. Watch.
We are not pacifists. And in fact, we recognize that violence sometimes not only is necessary, but necessary for the liberation of human beings.
And it's a good thing that we're the oppressors. He's going to liberate with violence. Got it? It's almost like this. Radicals, Islamists, communists, socialists work together against Israel, work together against capitalism, and to overturn stability. That's it. It's really not that hard, America. It ain't that hard. I mean, we could gather some more facts, but I've only got about 5 more shows left, and I think we pretty much have covered this, don't you? Now what? You're not going to get the truth from the media. You know why? The next Gaza flotilla is having the media ride right along with them. Now, you're never going to guess. Fox News? No, they're not going. No, they're not going. The New York Times is going to be aboard the Gaza flotilla, along with CNN and CBS. So it's going to be completely fair and balanced. No, it is. It's going to be great. They're going to be right there to capture how evil the Israelis really are. Balanced reporting. Same kind of reporting that said Iran only needed nuclear power for energy in the Middle East. Oh, and in totally unrelated news, well, not so much news. They're not really reporting it anywhere. I mean, that much. You might find it deep in your paper. Ahmadinejad has come out and said he doesn't have a problem producing nukes. Oh. And in the face of this, you have to stand up. You have to stand up and speak out. Let me tell you something. They are very well coordinated and they are very well funded. And they pretty much own the media. Pretty much. God help you if you want to stand up. But now is the time that you link arms. You can see the machine you're up against. Have no fear. You try to stand up and support Israel, and suddenly you're with the occupiers. You're with the war criminals. What did the Washington Post call me? Oh, yeah, that's right. On Friday, they called me a creature. Wow. I've seen some other people, in the mid-1930s use that kind of language to dehumanize people. It always ends well. Right now, America needs people who are willing to stand up and lead, no matter what the blowback may be. We have only 5 shows after this, and I am picking very carefully what I do on these 5 shows. I want to introduce you to a man tonight that I think will make a difference. He already has made a difference. You may not know much about him. You may not like his style. You may not like his policies. In the end, I hope you at least walk away with the feeling that I have about him. He is an honest man. I don't pick or choose or back any presidential nominees. However, I do think that some of them need to be exposed. Herman Cain we exposed a couple of weeks ago. I thought he was worth your time listening to. I think this man is as well. Not many politicians have spine. This man does. He's proved as much to me. A few years ago, facing a tough election, he was ahead of the curve on the threat of radical Islam. We have talked about it between us for years. Radical Islam growing in Iran, the Middle East, and the increasing pressure being put on Israel. He knew it wasn't popular in the polls when he was running. The last thing he wanted to talk about was the Middle East. He told me at the time when I said, you should back off of this because this isn't helping your reelection. He said he wouldn't be able to face his children if he didn't speak out, even if it meant he lost. He did, but he can sleep at night. Joining me now is former Senator and GOP presidential candidate Rick Santorum. Rick, how are you, sir?
Doing great, Gordon. Thank you.
Good to see you. You bet.
Appreciate the kind words.
It's not kind words. It's the truth. You have been on Israel and Iran for a very long time.
Have.
Will you agree with me that Israel is the key to the Middle East? If you pull it out, the West collapse.
Yeah, I mean it's our anchor in the Middle East. It's a strategic ally for us. It's also essential for the Jewish people. I mean we can't ignore the history of the Jewish people and understand the significance to the world of having a Jewish homeland. So it is just a strategic ally for us. It is, as you mentioned, the stopper in the Middle East, but it's also a very important humanitarian place also.
I'm going over to Poland in a couple of weeks on something that's a venture that I'm doing, and I'm not going to do a special on Auschwitz per se. I'm visiting Auschwitz, but I'm talking about the town, which is just a few miles outside of the gate. And I have been doing my research and trying to figure out how did this happen? Poland, I didn't know this when I first started doing my research, Poland rose up, a lot of Poles rose up to try to help the Jews. But they had nothing left. They had no arms. The Jews couldn't defend themselves. They had no state. They had nothing. We're at least at this point, we have a Jewish state that can defend themselves, but the world says they shouldn't.
Well, I mean, the whole key to all of this is that the people that are opposing the Israeli state in the Middle East have never recognized the existence of the state of Israel. You cannot pull away from Israel. You have to stand by Israel until the people who seek to do them harm come to terms with the fact that Israel will exist and that the United States, hopefully the world, will stand behind them and their right to exist. As long as the Palestinian Authority, as long as the others in the Middle East refuse to accept Israel's right to be there, then there can be no peace. And we should not force Israel into any negotiation until that condition is met.
Do you think America has enough courage to turn the tide on Israel?
If we had a strong leader who had the respect of the world Yes, the answer is because we've done it in the past. Leaders throughout the course of the time the State of Israel has been in place have stood strongly with them, and as a result, Israel has had a modicum of stability and success. We see now is a president who is backing away, who is, as you've talked about here, very much an internationalist, someone who sees his role as almost transcending the presidency.
Yeah.
And sees his role as to work with the international community to their ends, not to the ends of the national security interest of our country, not to the ends of supporting allies who are strategic for us, but to the ends of some greater goal than the goals here in the United States.
Okay, when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about, I don't know if America, you've seen this yet. This is Time Magazine. Constitution, does it still matter? Their conclusion, nah, not so much. And Rolling Stone and what they said about Michelle Bachmann. The role of God in your life, creation of jobs in America, what we're doing with the Fed.
With the unstable economy and massive